Hey, Marco here, and to start this new year, I wanted to make a video where I tell you about my favorite peer-to-peer lending platforms, so like an updated version for 2021. But I won't just give you the list, that will be done in less than a minute, and that will not tell you why I actually chose those platforms. So I really want to spend more time to tell you about each platform, why I actually chose them to be in the list. And I made a lot of videos about how to select good peer-to-peer lending platforms, but in a nutshell, it's based on two things. The first thing is my own experience with the platforms. As you know, I only speak about platforms that I test myself, that I actually have some money invested on. So the first part is really what are my own returns, how I actually feel when I use the platform, what about customer support, what about everything related to the platform based on my own experience. The second thing, which really gets more and more important into how I set a platform, is based on completely objective criteria. Like, does the platform have a buyback guarantee? How many loans do they have? A system of rating of those loans? How long have they been in operation? For example, more recently, do they have an investment license or did they apply for such license? That's all a set of objective criteria that also allows me to set my favorite platforms. So in the video, we'll now jump over to my computer and I will show you all about what I look at when I select those platforms. So first, I'll show you the list itself and where you can find it. And also you will hear about why I selected those platforms. So first, let's talk about the list itself. So this is an article I keep on my website. So if you are, by the way, listening to the audio version of this on the podcast, make sure to check all the links in the show notes to have access to them. So basically here I have my list of my favorite platforms, and it actually stayed the same for this beginning of 2021. I will tell you why in a moment. But basically the list is the following: Mintos, Twino, VI Invest, and Peerberry. That's my favorite peer-to-peer lending platforms, of course, excluding platforms that are more specialized in real estate. I will have a separate video and episode about that. So why now I actually made this list? So basically, if you remember what I just said in a moment ago, I based myself to recommend those platforms on two things: my own experience with the platforms and also a set of completely objective criteria. For the first part, well, I have to say that all those platforms really delivered to me a good experience since the beginning I've been using them. The yields have been consistent. They had made a lot of innovation. They had a very good customer support. I've been in touch also with all the CEOs of those platforms as well to really talk about the field, to really talk about also difficulties during the COVID crisis. And I think they handled it quite well. So I will, of course, go back to that in a moment. So that's my own experience. I had great experience with those platforms. So I know that this is not enough, right? It's not enough for me to tell you, okay, I had a great experience with those platforms, just invest on them, right? That's why I wanted to add a set of more objective criteria in the mix to actually tell you, okay, that's platform I think you should invest on. And for that, I actually created a tool called P2P Advisor. So again, if you're listening to the audio version of this, make sure to actually check it out. I put the link to this free tool inside the show notes of the episode. So this is basically an automated tool to automatically compare many different platforms on a completely objective basis. So basically the tool fetch data from all the platforms. For example, what is the yield that they advertise? Do they have a buyback guarantee? When was the platform launched? Do they have some features like auto invest? Do they have a secondary market? All of those are automatically fetched by the platform, and this is used to actually calculate some rating automatically without any of my or somebody of my team intervention. That's all done automatically, and I will actually publish quite soon the algorithm that I use to actually calculate this rating. So I'm now also basing my recommendation, all my articles or my videos are also based on that, on this automated tool that gives recommendation about those platforms. So in this tool, if I look at the best rated platforms based on those objective criteria, I actually found Mintos, Trino, Bonster, VI Invest, Swapper, and Peerberry in the first platforms. So why, for example, I am not putting Bonster and Swapper inside my top 4 platforms? Well, as I said before, I only speak about platforms where I have a lot of experience myself, right? Where I've been investing for many years. And that's not the case of those two. So that might change in the future as I'm currently trying out those platforms as well, that my tool seems to like, apparently. But I will definitely try them out and update my top 4 platforms article in case this changes. But for now, I will focus on Mintos, Trino, VI Invest, and Peerberry as my top 4 favorite platforms. By the way, in the future, I want to really improve this tool as well and put more automated data in there, especially about loans themselves and loan originators. So I want to see what type of loans and what type of loan originators those platforms actually propose. So for example, the ratings of those loans. Is it risky? Is it less risky? What is the actual average yield from those platforms? So I'm actually working with them to put all this data into my tool and use that as well to give a rating, an automated rating to those platforms. So now let's talk about each of those platforms that I have in my top 4, because I felt like it's not enough for me to just give you a list, right? And say, okay, that's my favorite platforms. I wanted to explain more. So first, all those platforms that are in my top 4, and that's a very important thing, they have most of the features, like auto invest, buyback guarantee. They were launched a while ago. They have a decent yield above or around 11%. That's all good. But also they all applied for an investment license. This means that they will actually become regulated, because I don't know if you know, but most of the platforms actually don't have any type of regulation. Of course, they have to follow some rules, right? But the whole field of crowd lending or peer-to-peer lending is not really regulated yet. So far, to give investors more protection, some platforms, like the 4 I have in my top 4 here, actually applied to be regulated as an investment broker, which will give a lot of guarantees to investors and also make sure that they follow some standards of transparency and also safety for investors. So that's also why I put them in my top 4. So now let's talk about those platforms in detail, especially Mintos. Because a lot of people told me, either via email or on my Facebook group, Marco, why are you actually still recommending Mintos? They had so many problems during the crisis. And I really wanted to address that and tell you why I still recommend this platform in my top 4. Basically, what happened is that a lot of people had money stuck in what's called pending payments. So basically, when the crisis hit, a lot of loans that were covered by a buyback guarantee went into default, right? Because people just couldn't pay back. And what happened is that the platforms, the loan originators that gave those loans to people could not pay back Mintos because they just didn't have the cash. And that's definitely a problem that this crisis uncovered. Yes, definitely on Mintos and on other platforms, there are some loan originators that didn't do their job, that shouldn't have been there in the first place, or at least should have been marked with a rating saying, beware, don't invest with this loan originator or you might lose your money, right? So the case about Mintos is that yes, a lot of this money was actually put into those pending payments and a lot is still waiting to be recovered. What I have to say here is that I don't have myself a lot in those pending payments or recovery just because I actually selected very aggressively the loan originators on Mintos. And that's definitely what I recommend. You can't invest in all the loan originators just because they have a buyback guarantee. That's not enough. And that's also something I try to put in my tool here to really recommend what you should actually invest in on each platform to limit your risk. So I don't want to judge anyone, that's not the case here, but I can imagine that some investors had a lot of, let's say, not so great loan originators in their portfolio when the crisis hit. And therefore it made problems. And now a lot of money is in recovery. Just want to say two things about this. Nobody could plan this crisis, right? The virus just came out of nowhere, basically. And that's also the first crisis that hits the world of peer-to-peer lending. So definitely there will be some problems. There will be, I think, a little hit on the yield on all those portfolios. But for example, in the case of Mintos, I'm definitely sure they will be able to recover a lot of the money that is currently in recovery, just because it's the largest platform out there. They have a lot of, let's say, power in the field to actually recover this money. So that's at least one reason why I still recommend Mintos, because they actually did a lot of things related to this crisis. Yes, there were some problems. For example, I want to show this. So also, if you are listening to this on the podcast, I'm just showing basically an article on the Mintos website where they actually introduce a new way of rating loan originators and loans on the platform. Basically, this was introduced definitely because of the crisis, right? It dates from the 28th of October. So after the crisis hit, right? And basically, they also rate the buyback strength of the platform. So at which level can a platform actually gives back the money if a loan actually goes to default and it's covered by buyback guarantee, right? So that's very important, and it will definitely impact how I select loans on the platform based on this rating. I will do another video, by the way, where I share my latest settings for Mintos to make sure I actually only select the best loan originators. That's what this crisis actually shown, that it's not enough, right, to select all loans that comes with buyback guarantee on the platform. The loan originator also matters a lot. And that's why I will keep Mintos in my recommended platforms. In a nutshell, yes, there were problems. They did a lot to actually address those problems. And I really believe that after the crisis has passed, it will all come back to normal, and the platform and other platforms as well will be more secure and also have much more transparency on their loan originators. So I would say similar things about the other platforms in my top 4. So Twino, Peerberry, VI Invest, they were less impacted as well by the crisis, and Mintos, which is so big and has so many loan originators, did a great job of communication with the investors during the crisis, especially Peerberry, for example, which send a lot of emails informing investors. So that's also why they are in my top 4 peer-to-peer lending platforms for this first part of 2021. So of course, make sure to always go back to this article. You will find the link on the video and on the podcast show notes. I always put my latest results, and any change on these top 4 platforms, you will find all of that inside this article. Alright, this is already the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. So this was a list of my favorite peer-to-peer lending platforms for this first part of 2021 and why I actually chose those platforms in the list. Of course, I would like to hear about your comments and questions about this list. And if you want to find more, get the list, get more information about those platforms, make sure to visit the link on my site. You will find it just below the video. You will find my up-to-date list about my favorite platforms, peer-to-peer lending platforms for 2021. So that being said, thank you again so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.